It's supposed to be a low-cost, simple computer, and yet some of us are loading it with software which costs twice as much as the entire machine. Surely there's got to be a better way. This week, Click goes in search of the alternative to paying for the big brands. We'll look at open source software and find out if it can take on the big names with the big price tags. We'll also look at the alternatives to putting up with bad service and talk to the people trying to fight for consumer rights in the often faceless world of online shopping. Rob's here to give us some tips on making sure your Facebook details don't get you sacked, amongst other things. And Kate's Webscape is a mix of wild mood swings and fun computer science. Add to that lot the very latest tech news, and I think we've got ourselves a show. Welcome to Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. One of the rules here on Click is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. You never get something for nothing. But Chris Long may very well have found an exception to that rule. Why is it always about food with you?
No, it's just a saying, and, well, personal fantasy. But more importantly, we're referring to a movement that has been growing slowly but surely in the belly of the computer industry. Oh, that's food again, isn't it? We're used to the hard sell of the high street, where shops beg you to spend your money. But now there are signs that a non-commercial movement, decades in the shadows, is making itself known. Here, people get together, share concepts and pass them around the world for everyone else to benefit from. Open source. No, stop. Not open source bottle. Open source software.
Open source software is essentially a set of tools and systems that have been developed by enthusiasts rather than by large companies like Microsoft. It's very often free, although that's not always the case. I think you should think of open source as free as in free thought, as opposed to free as in a free lunch.
OK. Much to my disappointment, it's free thinking, not a free lunch. Here's another view.
Open source software is software that is actually developed in the community, and the entire source code for the software is made available to the community. Anybody can modify it, anybody can deal with it, change it, use it, and it's basically free to use.
That's right. They're fully fledged programs and they are free. Plus, the people that make them do it for nothing too. Although some companies do manage to make money out of it.
In the same way that you would take purchase software and have a maintenance contract and it would be supported, we provide a support contract for open source software.
So you get that, do you? It's free for us to use whenever we like. None of this paying hundreds of pounds to, say, Microsoft Office. OpenOffice will do nicely, thanks. No hunting around for a piece of software to organise your music. Songbird will do it. And looking to play a piece of video? Any piece of video? You need VLC. And there are thousands and thousands of other little gems just like these. And they're free. And here's my thought. If it's that good, why isn't it more successful? Why isn't Microsoft out of business? Well, I suppose you have to start by defining what you mean by successful.
I think really it's just that most people don't know very much about open source software at the moment. Particularly on the sort of operating system side, it's quite fragmented. There are lots of different versions. But on the application side, you've got things like Firefox and Thunderbird, which are immensely popular and certainly catching Microsoft up in certain areas.
Take a look at this cutie. It's one of the ASUS lightweight, very cheap, quite successful notebooks. When it came on the market, it had Linux and OpenOffice on it. And then, all of a sudden, people started putting XP on it. Why? Could it be that open source missed the trick?
I think the open source industry could have made more of that. But when you get a major software company like Microsoft who suddenly decide they want that market, and they have the war chest that they have, they can take that market.
There can be little doubt of the fantastic success some of the open source programs out there are achieving. The browser Firefox, for example, has been storming across the internet, with a Firefox Insider claiming some 270 million users. OpenOffice has registered some 60 million downloads from October last year, and more than 12 million of those have been since May this year. Open source is not going away. But unfortunately, bits and pieces of this programming goodness are built on other people's software. As popular commercial applications grow, they drive the creation of open source equivalents, which can cause problems.
When open source developers write for applications and other products, they often have to kind of use the technology of big companies, like Microsoft or Apple or someone like that. For example, if a company wanted to have compatibility with a certain type of device or service, it might mean they have to kind of reverse engineer the standards, so they're actually breaking into the technology. And whether or not it's legal for them to do so is not really for me to say, but what can happen, of course, is that these big companies feel threatened by it and just call the lawyers in.
The open source movement has done sterling work just to get where it is now, but it has to do a much better job at selling itself if it wants to bag itself a bigger slice of the computer software pie.
So then, not so much a free lunch as some free tasty software. And as always, we'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the current state of open source software. Do you think they missed a trick with the launch of cheap PCs? Or do you think the free software crowd's day is still to come? Oh, and while I'm asking, tell us what kind of open source software you use, if any, and how's that stomach thing doing? Is it cleared up yet? Enough questions, I know. You can answer any of them at click@bbc.co.uk. Now, the latest tech news. The controversial file-sharing portal Pirate Bay is going legit. The site, whose owners were recently found guilty of copyright infringement, has been bought for $7 million by a Swedish software and internet cafe group, Global Gaming Factory X, who are launching a business which could see copyright owners get paid. Who'd have thought? Brings back memories of the Napster saga at the turn of the last century. There's good news for European mobile users. From next year, there'll be a universal standard for phone chargers in the form of the micro USB connector, which is found already on some of today's devices. Also, as of this week, the roaming charges for data, calls and text messages are set to be capped at a lower rate across the EU. The big change is a drastic reduction in text message pricing from 28 to 11 cents. And China is to delay the introduction of its much criticised internet filtering software, which was due to be installed on all new computers in the country from July the 1st. Manufacturers said they needed more time to add the so-called Green Dam Youth Escort to their machines. The software, which will monitor web usage, will add to the already heavy net censorship endured by China's netizens. OK, next up is Click's official tech expert, Rob Freeman. And seeing as everyone on the Click team thinks they're really a tech expert, that's saying something. This is a man who is so plugged in, he's got no free sockets left. And here he is with some more hints and tips on how to keep your digital life running smoothly.
Thanks, Spencer. Are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook right now? Well, listen closely, because this tip might just save your job one day. We've had a run of stories recently telling of people who've been fired because of something they wrote on Facebook. There's Kimberly Swan, lost her job for saying it was boring. Dan Leone, no longer working at the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. And the cyber sacking of 13 cabin crew. Did you know you can limit who sees the individual sections of your Facebook profile? The most important menu link of all is here. It's under Settings, Privacy Settings. Let's start with the news feed and the wall. If you don't want some stories about you appearing on other people's news feeds, you can turn off stories that you don't want published. So, if you don't want made known that you had a new friend or commented on someone's photo, you can turn these off by unticking the box here. Of course, it does take a lot of the fun away when you do that. Let's go back to the privacy screen and have a look at search. Here you can control who can find you on Facebook and what they can see when they find you. If you don't want people to see your profile picture, you can turn this off, along with the ability to send you a message or even add you as a friend. You can also prevent yourself even coming up in a search by anyone who isn't already a friend of yours. Finally, let's have a look at your profile. Now, this is really powerful because it limits what people see and do on your profile page, and it's divided into two sections. People or groups who are allowed to see things, and people or groups who are specifically blocked. For example, here you can say that only friends can see photos tagged of you, but some of the other options are having everyone on Facebook see you, or perhaps just friends of friends. But what if you want some friends to see your photos and other friends not to? This is the time to set up a new list. Go to the Friends menu. On the left-hand side, you'll see any lists you already have. Your limited list will be here. Press Make a New List, and we need to give it something descriptive, so I'm going to call it No Photos, so I can remember when I'm back in the other screen. Then select the list and type in the names of the friends who you don't want to see pictures tagged of you. Then we're going to go back to the Privacy menu and block them. So, back to Settings, Privacy, and Profile. And then under the Photos section, choose Customize. Check that the right people and groups can see your photos if they want, but the important bit is to add the name of your new list under Exceptions. So here, all my friends can see my photos, except the people who I added to the No Photos list. If you think it would be rude to ignore someone's friend requests, but you really don't want to be friends with them because, I don't know, they're your boss, stick them into limited, and then after a few days, just quietly unfriend them. Go on, just remove. They'll never notice. Besides, they're supposed to be managing you, not wasting the time on Facebook. Take it from a friend like me. Keep clicking.
Thank you, Rob. And if there's anything that you would like some help on, send Rob an email. He lives at click@bbc.co.uk. He's our little gremlin that lives in our inbox. Welcome back. So, ever been burnt online? Ever bought something on the internet and then found that it just doesn't turn up? Or even if it does, it's not quite what you bargained for? And then have you tried to complain and received little more than a cyber shrug? Well, if you have, this next report is for you. David Reed reports from Brussels on the activists, the bureaucrats and the politicians all fighting to get a better deal for consumers in the digital marketplace.
We may call the online world virtual, but does that mean our consumer rights should only be virtual as well? European consumer activists, parliamentarians and commissioners don't think so and are hashing out what they're calling a digital agenda of possible future European Union action.
The aim of Europe's digital agenda is to apply some of the consumer rights that we take for granted in the real world and extend them to the online world, to digital products and software. If you buy something in a shop and you're not satisfied with it, you take it back to the shop and you get your money back. You try doing the same online with digital products and software, well, good luck to you.
One of their main targets are the terms and conditions that we all have to accept when buying a product or signing up to a service online. Even if we did read them, and let's face it, very few of us do, they're written in such convoluted, inscrutable legalese that we wouldn't know that they often compromise our rights as consumers.
Most consumers, instead of going through the terms and conditions, which are technical, legal, they're not going to understand, just put, yes, I accept, and then they don't know actually what have they accepted. And in our experience, most companies actually use the terms and conditions to limit their liability, to impose unfair restrictions on the use of the content, even to restrict the applicable law. They are doing everything to limit their liability.
And here's a personal reminiscence to prove the point. I got a well-known navigation device for my birthday, but when I later bought a €50 map of Western Europe, it wouldn't download. The company told me I'd have to pay €20 more than advertised for a map that worked with my device. I said,
Hold on, I want a refund.
They said, refund? Didn't you read the terms and conditions, sir? Well, I hadn't, and it was only when I told them I was a journalist that they gave me my money back.
If a software or ringtone or music cannot be played on my PC or my hardware, I should know it. There should be a clear indication from the beginning saying, watch out, this software is compatible only with this and that. We're not talking about general warning saying, watch out, there might be a problem of a lack of interoperability. There should be clear indication what it's compatible with, can I use it, what can I do with it.
But the digital agenda is not without controversy. Software manufacturers say they could be made liable for bugs and compatibility issues that are impossible to anticipate or fix.
A computer program, by definition, works in an environment. It works with other components, other pieces of software. How can you take responsibility for the interaction of your piece of software with other third parties' components? This is not the case. If you buy a car or a fridge, it's not going to be upgraded in 6 months. It's not going to be a new component that comes into play. It's a complete different beast.
While consumer rights activists say they're only concerned with the Microsofts and Apples of this world, small software producers such as Benjamin Henrion fear a law change will hurt their business. Like many small developers, he uses open source code as a resource to build his software for business clients. If there's a bug in the open source, he won't always know about it and can't afford to get sued.
Most of the time you don't review code you use, especially if you use libraries, which means that code you can integrate easily in your software. So you just expect that it works, and sometimes you discover bugs. So creating liabilities is especially bad for small producers because they don't have the means to fight a trial in court against a client. And that's right now it's the rule is use it as your own risk, and there is no warranty. But if it changes, if the law changes, it will be problematic.
We'll have to see where this European debate on consumers' digital rights leads. For now, though, consumers can visit the European Commission's EU Guide. It details your rights when you shop online or find yourself lumbered with a digital product that isn't all it's cracked up to be. Failing that, you can always just pick your way through the small print.
And that was David Reed. Next up is Kate with another fine selection of sites in Webscape.
Computer science is fun. No, really. Computer science is fun. At least that's what the people at Queen Mary University in London want us to think. And at their website, cs4fun.org, they're doing everything in their power to convince us. Almost. I say almost because for something that's designed to persuade us of the fun in computer science, it sure is a pretty dry-looking site on the surface. But the point here is the content is king, and if you're even vaguely interested in the way computers work, you will really enjoy reading and interacting with these pages. Here they tell us that computer science is all about creativity, solving puzzles and having fun. They liken programming to conjuring magic tricks, and there's a really nice downloadable PDF of a book of tricks you can learn at home. As well as this, there are blog-style entries listed by date or topic on the left. Despite the plain-looking graphics of the site, most of these entries show you how to turn computer science into a game and reinforce the idea that understanding computers is as much about understanding people as making the maths work. Talking of understanding people, what mood are you in today? Our daily activities are very much influenced by our state of mind. If we're feeling happy and energetic, we might want to go and play footy in the park, whereas those in a morose mood will probably prefer to sit at home and listen to music. WildMoodSwings.co.uk is a fun little site that takes this concept online by allowing you to surf a multitude of different websites based on the mood you're in. Just pick a mood from the drop-down box and the site will open up an appropriate website to fit your state of mind. And there's not much to this site in itself, but whoever made it has really done a good job of hunting out some great content to put behind the moods. There is only one site for each mood, but the number of moods is impressive to say the least. And the websites you'll be linked to are on the whole highly commendable. In fact, I recognise a good few as having been on Webscape in the past. Wild Mood Swings hasn't exactly reinvented the wheel when it comes to surfing the web, but I think it offers an interesting new way to steer it. I hope you'll all agree that we've shown you some pretty cool websites on Webscape. Not so cool having to scribble down a mile-long URL before our editor takes it off the screen. Okay, so you can get a link directly from our website. But if you're not the BBC and you want to share some cool sites you've found, you can make the address more palatable if you go to tweak.tk. There are a few sites which do this kind of thing, but Tweak is a good example, and it has a nice little feature which allows you to send the URL directly to your Twitter account, saving you a few precious clicks of the mouse. It's all about convenience, darling. Just enter the long URL to return a nice short one. These web addresses aren't exactly designed to trip off the tongue from memory, but rather make them a nice tight link to be clicked from a forum or website. If you want a domain name that's a little more memorable, then head over to the sister site at .tk, where you can get unlimited free domains which offer a URL forwarding and some other basic features. Do note, though, that any domain names receiving less than 25 hits per 90 days will be removed from your account. And that brings us to the end of yet another delve into my bookmarks folder. Was it good for you? Well, why not let us know by logging onto our website and leaving a comment in the inbox? You'll find lots of funky stuff there to boot, and Spencer will be up in just a moment with the URL.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, bbc.co.uk/clickitis. You can leave your comments from our site, you can link to Kate's Webscape sites from our site, and you can watch the entire programme again if you click on the link in the corner. Honestly, the only way we can make it more convenient for you is if we all came round to your house and did it live in your living room. And believe me, you wouldn't want that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.